So TISM Talk is normally about my experience being on the spectrum and doing motorsports. Today I want to talk about the realities of it for the more broad term of autistic spectrum, the spectrum, because everyone's different and everyone is going to have different struggles than me. So I feel like it's an important topic to discuss the possibilities for all people on the spectrum, possible problems that they might run into, troubles they might have, and maybe potential solutions for those problems to make motorsports a little bit more easy for them. So sensory sensitivities are, for me, very relatable. Noise, crowds, smells, and lighting are all things that autistic people have issues with. Sensory overload is a real thing, and it's hard to describe. But just because something is hard to describe doesn't mean it is impossible to remedy. So let's look at some problems and maybe some potential solutions. Typically, motorsports are very loud. Big noisy engines, squeaky tires. There's a lot of stuff going on as far as noises go. But recently, there have been a lot of advancements in the electric world. And electric go-karts are fantastic. Electric cars have become a real thing. And now we have some really seriously good electric dirt bikes and electric bicycles. Those are all really quiet, and to be honest, they're very tempting to me because they're just so good and they don't have that super high sound. So there's a solution, but it also still has the problem of the motorsport part of it, because not everyone at the track is going to have an electric whatever, car, dirt bike, loud stuff at any given time. So earplugs will definitely help, even if you want to just go watch. If you're interested in motorsports and you're not particularly interested in competing, but you want to go watch, headphones, they make over-the-ear ones and they make in-the-ear ones. Both of those are great. Active noise canceling doesn't really work so well for the sounds that cars make because it's so variable, but they do work a little bit. I definitely recommend passive, which is the over-ear big ones or the in-ear ones that like expand into your ear. Those work a lot better, and I think they're a really cheap alternative to active, like Bose or whatever. I definitely recommend the cheaper passive ones because they're able to actually lower the decibels a lot more than the active ones are. One of the really hard sensory issues is crowds. It's tough to find a solution to this because the better you get, the bigger the crowds, as I've talked about in previous TISM talks. But you can definitely start at local track days, and those are usually going to be a lot smaller crowds where you have control. Maybe if you see a group of people, you can go to them and talk to them if you want to.
I think that's Brian right there in the red. Yeah.
But if you don't want to, it's completely normal for people to hang out by themselves with their little circle, maybe their parents or their loved ones, family. For me, it's my wife. So as far as crowds go, I think for autistic people, a slow dip your toes thing would be go to local track days. And all motorsports have local track days because you got to practice. And if you're really concerned with the crowds, that's something you really need to start slower in. But what I would recommend is going to the track and talking to not necessarily the owner, but the track manager, and saying, hey, what day can I come that's going to have the least amount of people? Even explaining why, they'll totally understand and be like, okay, yeah, here's what we can do. And there is even a possibility that if you go to a track and explain why you're looking for that, they might even be interested in doing a autism-friendly track day. There's a lot of people in the world that are autistic. You might find somebody that can relate to you. Maybe they know somebody that is autistic and they would be interested in hosting a track day. Smells is going to be one that's hard for me to relate to because it's pretty rare that I find something that smells so bad that it is an overloading thing. But I understand the smells from fuel, like two-stroke oil, exhaust, all that stuff can be really, really strong. I'm not really sure what you can do except for to say that maybe outdoor motorsports would be better for you. If you know someone that's on the spectrum and you want to take them to a motorsport, maybe don't take them to a supercross event because that's indoors and a lot of fumes. Even for neurotypical people, that's a strong smell. So I don't know how to fix that other than to say potentially try outdoor sporting events first and then maybe try indoor ones if that's something that you struggle with or the person that you know struggles with. Oh, on a caveat to that would be indoor go-kart tracks that use electric carts. No problem there. There's no oil, there's no gas. The smells are just basically the smell of popcorn and whatever is going on. Another one that I notice is going to be texture, because motorsports requires protective gear. So if you're in a car, you need to have a flame retardant suit, you need to have a flame retardant gloves and face covering and a helmet. All of those things have a texture, or they squeeze you in a way that maybe you don't like. This is really tricky, and it definitely comes down to personal preference. In my experience, I really don't like the feeling of specific helmets. So what you can do if you do run into this issue is buy a different helmet. If that isn't an option, you can try to wear like a bandana or something that covers your head that you do like, and then put the helmet on top of that. That works for me, and it's a really simple, cheap solution. Now, if you're running into issues with the way that something compresses you, that's tricky and that's tough. You might need to buy a size up to kind of fit you better. I know that the one suit, like race suits for the fire retardant, those can be really hot too, so that's tricky. Really, if you have a problem, like maybe if you're too hot, you have to think, okay, how can I cool down but still wear this gear? You just have to think outside the box and potentially put in a fan that blows cold air into your suit, or like I did with the bandana. I will say though that if you can get yourself into the car or onto the bike and get going, a lot of the times those feelings will disappear because you're focusing really intensely on driving or riding. But if it doesn't work for you, leave a comment and maybe we can solve the problem together. I'm not really sure. Everybody's different, so this is a tough one. I almost forgot lights because that's not something that I luckily really have issues with, but lighting could be really tough, because a lot of motorsports happen outside. There's going to be a lot of bright lights, especially I know I've been to a race where it's like dirt oval track, and had really bright lights to light up the track. That would be tough, and I'm not really sure what the solution for that might be. Again, talk to your local track and ask what you can, go to your local track, talk to them about it. If that's a problem, they might say, hey, yeah, come during the day or something along those lines. But we need to solve a problem for the actual race nights, and I don't think you can wear sunglasses. The best thing I can think of off the top of my head would be start working on it like a therapy, like practice it like the way you practice your corners or the way you practice your braking. Like practice just brighter and brighter and brighter lights until it's to the point where it's actually like more so than it will be on the day. I know it's not really a solution for everybody. I'm really sorry, I can't think of anything better, but yeah, that's a tough one, especially for people who compete at night. I know the South in America, anywhere that's hot, they're gonna have to do a night event just to keep the heat down, so that's tricky. Obviously, I'm gonna miss a lot of stuff here, and this is an ongoing series. I'm trying to keep it short, under 10 minutes. If there's something you'd like for me to discuss, or maybe you're just curious about it, go ahead and ask, and yeah, I'll get to it in the next one. Thanks for watching / listening.